Rome, the Eternal City. For centuries, it stood as the capital of empires and the heart of both religious and political power in Europe. Within its walls, conspiracies were woven, and great decisions were made that changed the course of history. But this city, which had resisted invaders from the Goths to the French, was destined to face a turning point that would forever alter its role. What happened? And how did the Pope's temporal power collapse, giving way to a unified Italy? On the morning of September 20th, 1870, the walls of Rome shook under the thunder of Italian artillery. It was not a mere skirmish, but a decisive turning point in the history of Italy and of Europe. On that day, the centuries-long temporal rule of the popes came to an end, and a new chapter began. Italy was born as a unified nation with Rome as its capital. Since the Middle Ages, the Papal States had stood as a political power in the heart of the Italian peninsula. The Pope was not only a spiritual leader, but also the sovereign ruler of vast territories stretching from Rome to Bologna. This temporal authority granted the Church enormous influence, but it also became an obstacle to the great 19th-century dream of Italian unification. As the movement of Risorgimento, the Italian resurgence, rose, calls grew louder to end fragmentation and forge a single homeland for all Italians. Leaders such as Giuseppe Mazzini, the revolutionary thinker, and Giuseppe Garibaldi, the people's general, alongside King Victor Emmanuel II and his statesman Cavour, became the pillars of this movement. By 1861, the Kingdom of Italy had been proclaimed, yet Rome remained outside its grasp, protected by French troops stationed there to defend Pope Pius IX. History, however, presented the Italians with an opportunity. In 1870, the Franco-Prussian War erupted. Emperor Napoleon III was forced to withdraw his troops from Rome to defend France against Prussia. Suddenly, the Pope stood without a protector, and the Holy City was left exposed to Italy's ambitions. At dawn on September 20th, the Italian army under General Raffaele Cadorna advanced on Rome. The force numbered nearly 50,000 soldiers, while the papal defenders did not exceed 15,000, most of them Swiss guards and foreign volunteers. Artillery was positioned before the Porta Pia, and the first shells were fired at daybreak. Explosions echoed through the streets, tearing a breach in the ancient walls. The papal troops fought bravely, but the numerical and tactical superiority of the Italians soon decided the outcome. By midday, the gap was wide enough for infantry to storm the city. Skirmishes broke out inside, but they quickly ceased under strict orders to respect the sanctity of Rome and avoid bloodshed. By evening, the Italian tricolor was raised over the walls, and the city formally surrendered. It was a scene filled with drama. Pope Pius IX withdrew to the Vatican, refusing to recognize the Italian state. Declaring himself a prisoner of the Vatican, he forbade Catholics from taking part in Italian politics, a rift that would last for decades. For Italians, however, this day was one of triumph. The long-awaited dream had come true. Rome was at last the political capital of the Italian nation. Crowds celebrated across the peninsula, and cannons roared in Turin, Naples, and Milan to mark the victory. Internationally, the fall of Rome caused shockwaves within Catholic communities. Millions saw it as an assault on the Church. Yet European powers, though cautious at first, soon recognized the new reality, acknowledging that a unified Italy was now an undeniable fact. The conflict between church and state would remain unresolved until 1929, when the Lateran Accords were signed between Pope Pius XI and Mussolini's fascist government. These accords recognized the sovereignty of the Vatican City within Rome, in exchange for the Church's recognition of the Italian state with Rome as its capital. Thus, September 20th, 1870 was far more than the fall of a city. It was the end of an era and the dawn of another. A day that ended more than 1,000 years of papal temporal power, completed the unification of Italy, and redrew the political map of Europe. Rome fell to the Italian forces, closing a chapter of papal power and opening a new one in the history of a unified Italy. Moments that shaped our past and still echo in our present. Sparkles, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel and turning on the notification bell so you never miss any of our fascinating historical stories. See you soon on another journey through time.